Hey, welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff. It is a bright and early morning. Everybody's looking forward to getting their espresso. So, everybody should be making their espresso today. Good stuff. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But hey, you know what? You got to put a fork in it because the entire SEC Ripple case is just unfolding and exploding in their face right now. And it's amazing because the SEC time and time again seems to be coming out on the wrong side of history. And it's not just the SEC Ripple case, because we're going to get into some of the things that the SEC is actually recommending right now for qualification to become an accredited investor. Maybe it's only for the super rich. Maybe the common man no longer will have access to becoming an accredited investor. And there's so much evidence that is stacking up. It's amazing. And so we're going to talk about that. So put a fork in it because it is done. If you guys are ready to kick this thing off, I'm ready. So let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
All right. All the notifications should be flowing out at this moment. Everyone give a quick shout out as to where you're tuning in from, and a quick thank you to Susie for the big support every Saturday morning. Love my Saturday morning drive to work with OTC. Have an amazing day, family. Have an amazing day, Susie. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for the support. Appreciate it very much. And is anybody making their espresso? Well, let's go. It's good. It's good. I put a little pink Himalayan salt into the mocha pot or above the ground or on the ground. A little bit of sprinkled cinnamon, some nice organic cinnamon, and it is good stuff. So, anyhow, where should we start today? You know what? We're gonna get into some emails that have been released. So the SEC releasing emails to empower oversight in crypto conflict lawsuit. They're still digging in all over the place. And then we've got the Shibverse, so the Shiba Inu Metaverse. What's going on with that? What's going on with Ledger City? We talked a little bit about that maybe about a week ago, the Ledger City game. And we're going to have the CEO of Ledger City here with us next week. So that's going to be really exciting. So we've got that set up. And let's see, we got John Deaton. He's got a whole series of tweets that's what we're really going to dig into, because there's some amazing context and content, buried into multiple Deaton tweets. And then we also have, let's see here, we've got James Filan. We've got some tweets from him, and I guess there's some additional news that is here as well. And so we're gonna figure out what that's all about. I don't know what. There was a tweet. I guess Chip put this one in here recently, because it says here DAI is forced to take out the trash in the middle of an XRP video. What's up with that one? You know where I want to start? I want to start off with some fun stuff, and then we'll dig into all the uh, all the dirt on the SEC. And I think we might end up, after we'll go through some of this fun stuff. I think we're going to go through what the SEC. We're going to build up to this. We're going to get to why the SEC is now on the wrong side of history with in regards to the SEC Ripple case. But we're going to stack up some context, and we're going to go after what the SEC wants to do for the accredited investor, which is so upside down. Let me see here. Okay. So we're going to start out with two things. We're going to start out with Ledger City, and then we're going to go over to the Shiba verse, because why not? But just quick shout out to everybody that is coming in at the moment. Kelly Slade, a little bit behind schedule with getting the coffee ready. So, and then I like that. So Metal Chew, hey bro. So I guess we're never getting that executive order Thank you, Russia. Seems like Russia, Ukraine, that whole thing is now distracted the attention across the board. And actually, if we want to talk about reference points, I think this whole Russia Ukraine crisis on the heels of what happened over in Canada recently highlights and underscores the necessity of having a alternate plan. And I'm talking about for mainstream. Everybody here is already on the plan, which is, and the plan here is cryptocurrency. So understanding the dynamics and the fundamentals of moving away from fiat or what their objectives will be, which is digitized, programmable money, meaning that there'll be a lot of governmental manipulation within the communities. Now, I think we see a complete underscore of the need to make sure that you have solutions in place because right now, let's say the Ukrainian economy begins to collapse here. Who knows what the outcome is, but the individuals within the borders of Ukraine, where and what did they do with their money? So there was a run on ATMs as people were fleeing the country and fleeing the cities. There were runs on ATMs and they're emptying the ATMs, emptying the cash out of the ATMs. So there's got to be a solution to make sure that you have cash on hand, but then you have a backup knowing that your future is secure. And if your future is going to be secure, then that means it should probably be in a digital crypto environment. So if we're going to look at it from that perspective, that makes it even that much more critical. So let's say understand the dynamics of what's happening right now. So I don't know, they're emptying out their Bitcoin. They're getting all their Bitcoins out of their ATMs over in the Ukraine. So Abby services any BTC ATMs over there, got to figure it out. People got to be prepared way in advance to see and to make sure that they're securing their futures. And now we're seeing more and more coming out. There's so many people that have come out from mainstream that before said, "Hey, I never would have been on the side of cryptocurrency," and now all of a sudden they're on the side of cryptocurrency, and it really has a lot to do with what people are seeing unfold right now. So, and it's crazy. So here, crypto repo saying Ukraine's economy is definitely going to collapse, and we don't even know from a global perspective the reaction to this event. How is that going to impact the economics in general? How is that going to impact inflation in the United States or in other parts of the world? What is the next step in the evolution of what we're seeing develop here? Is the next step China going into Taiwan? And if it does, how does that disrupt the flow, the supply chain across the board of consumables, especially computer consumables? Does that also then disrupt mining capabilities of Bitcoin? I mean, it's really, there could be such a the focus here and what we could analyze, could be endless, but it's all unfolding right now in front of us. But the one thing that's obvious, as long as the power grids are up, or even not, if you can hold your ledger and that you're secure to access your crypto from another country, or when the power comes back, and look, again, it's about controlling the future. So if the banks collapse and you lose everything, and they decide to just say, "Hey, that Ukrainian bank no longer exists anymore. It's not backed up. You're not getting anything back. You're starting from zero," versus, "Oh, I had my money in XRP and it's on a ledger, and I keep that ledger, on a chain around my neck," or, wherever you might have it, and it's, I think that we think about, and I've heard conversation over black swan events, and now we're looking at, is this the true, black swan, that we're seeing a disruption of the norms of society? I mean, it's crazy, but I kind of digressed a little bit into all of this, and we're going to get into, I want to go over to the fun stuff, the Ledger City, the Shiba Inu verse, and then we're going to get into the case, the SEC v. Ripple case. But this is so vital that what we're seeing unfold in front of us right now. And at the end of the day, it has to do with weakness. So when you have a superpower like the United States that is seen as not even like a puppy dog. I mean, it's at this point, it's inept, right? The leadership the of the free world doesn't exist. There is no leadership anymore for the free world. It's completely inept, and the powers that be on a global scale recognize that fact. And this could be a major disruptor economically, and it's going to impact supply chain even further. So, are they taking advantage of this moment? Did Putin plan, over the past 2 decades or plus, really planning for this ultimate event that's unfolding right now? And what's their end game? Because I don't know if we know what his exact end game is. Is it rebuilding the previous Soviet Union? What exactly is the end game, and how does China, factor into all of that? And as we've seen over the past year with the insanity of the supply chains kind of collapsing, what went into the disruptions within those supply chains? Because a year prior, we had no issue with supply chain. Now, all of a sudden, we have massive issues with supply chains of product being delayed by months. And so there has to be another element that's going into this. And making sure that we are securing our economic longevity as individuals and as a community is more significant now than ever before. So before, we're looking at the development within the crypto space as something interesting, as a separation from the banking, as a separation from maybe government overreach, to how they can manipulate economies. But now it's going to a whole different level. Now we're seeing a whole new sphere of influence that's upsetting the cart. So anyhow, we can get into a lot of that in more depth. I think this is really, really critical. Beyond critical, and again, symbolic wise, what we saw happen up in Canada underscores it. Forget about this huge major conflict that could turn into WW3 over in Europe right now, because we don't know exactly what the next step is or what the next move is going to be, because it seems like right now Putin is kind of out movement maneuvering the world. So we'll see exactly how this unfolds. But from a crypto perspective, it keeps pushing forward, keeps developing, and is kind of a safe haven for all those that need it, and will be the safe haven from all inflation. And so and because the crypto worlds are still building, even as we get into these crazy metaverses, the crypto metaverse world is super, super valuable. I mean, it's getting to like an insane level of value, right? So here, I'm looking at this stuff and I'm like, you know what? Shiba Inu started off as a meme coin. Now they're really moving and progressing at such a rapid pace. It's amazing, right? So you've got the Shiba Inu Metaverse will sell 35,000 plots of virtual land over 10 days, and leash token owners will get priority in the bidding. Now, if it's going to be successful, this whole notion of buying virtual real estate is getting a little bit out of hand when you get into these metaverses. But this is where people's focus and attention is. I don't know if this is like the next Beanie Babies, or if this is what was the crypto kitties, or the whatever it was in the beginning. I don't know if it's another one of those that kind of comes and goes. Maybe these metaverses will dry up and die out. But I was thinking more in depth about how a metaverse, so to speak, could actually benefit big business or business in general. So I was thinking about, imagine you go to trade shows and you want to see and be able to look at like a 360 3D kind of perspective of a product. And in real life, you go there, you have to travel somewhere, and then you get to see, touch, feel, and look at the product. But now imagine you're in this metaverse and you can walk through a quasi conference, and you can go to a booth, and you can kind of walk around your trade show booth, and you can go up to the booth. Everyone's there represented in avatars, not just a flat two-dimensional screen, but you can go up and you can have a 360, and if they're able to laser scan their products and put them up so it's the real product, not just a cartoon version of the product, and you can actually engage with the product a little bit in the metaverse. To me, that could be something interesting. The rest of it, not so interesting. Just going to engage and hang out with people in a metaverse, not so exciting. But in buying all this real estate, I don't know where they're going with it. Also, not so exciting at this point. But anyhow, so holders of the Shibaverse leash token will be able to bid on the 35,000 plots in a 10-day event. No date yet. Wall Street analysts predict the metaverse could become an $8 trillion market as interest grows, and it's moving. People are paying like $2 million for a property in the metaverse right now. So it's kind of crazy. And then how do you know which metaverse is going to be successful? Are all metaverses going to be successful, or some metaverses? How do you know which metaverse to go to? And then are they somehow all interconnected? Can I go from the Shibaverse to, I don't know, to Lunaverse or whatever it's going to be? I don't know if that's going to be possible. So do we have interoperability of metaverses? I don't know. Maybe we should ask Brandon. Maybe Brandon knows about the metaverse. Doesn't seem to know much about Russia. So Shiba Inu fans won't have to wait much longer to own a chunk of Dogecoin themed metaverse. The developers of the meme cryptocurrency are planning it. Okay, it keeps going. What does it say here? According to, that was this past Wednesday. All this stuff is unfolding in real time over the past couple days. Speaking at Watcher Guru's Twitter space, Archangel revealed the latest plans for the Shiba Inu Metaverse, including the 10-day sale of those 35. They keep repeating this over and over and over again in this article. They have read the same thing like 4 times in different paragraphs here. It's getting frustrating. Okay. These 35,000 plots are only a portion of the 99,000 total plots that will make up the Shiba Inu Metaverse. Prices will vary by location, with land closer to the center of the park, the focal point of which is the dog park, which will cost a lot more. Early access will be given to users. So now they took a meme coin, they put a solution or a conceptual solution behind it in terms of what they want to build out, which is this metaverse. And now they're going to build out this metaverse, and you're going to buy digital land in the metaverse. And this is, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it could be kind of exciting. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But this is what I find interesting about it, is that they've migrated from a meme coin that was just kind of a Doge clone to actually doing something in the space and becoming builders in the space, not just a useless. So I was looking at Zober, he was saying just a useless meme coin. Yeah, so they're trying to move from being just a useless meme coin that was competing with Doge to actually having some functionality within a metaverse space. So we'll see if they can pull it off. Because who is trying to pull this off is Ledger City. And Ledger City right now, you can register for Ledger City right now. You can't interact with it yet. It's not going live yet for another like 52 days. There's a countdown. Download the game in 52 days, 14 hours, 36 minutes, and 23 seconds. So what's cool about Ledger City, and like I said, we're going to have the CEO of Ledger City on here soon. But what's cool about Ledger City is that it's a game powered by the XRP blockchain. And it's so based on your holdings of XRP, this will show it'll be representative or represented within the game as real estate. So depending on your holdings, that'll determine your real estate holdings in the space. And so it's kind of interesting. They threw up some screenshots. We saw these before, but evening traffic, kind of a panorama of the area. Here's a sunset in Ledger City. Now it's rough sketches. Not sure if this is exactly what it's going to look like once they get to the game mode. Little, little clunky on the graphics, but they don't want it to be super fancy. It doesn't have to be, high-end graphics. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool. You got the kind of blocked out trees and everything. I like this. It's going to be interesting. So if you're going to do something and build something in the environment, why not do it in the blockchain and make it in the XRPL? Why not utilize XRP in some way and allow people that are holders of XRP to somehow benefit from the game directly. So anyhow, it's coming quick. You guys can go check that out. I thought, it'd be fun to take a look at that, and then now we can move into some real stuff. Let's do that. Hang on. There we go. Good stuff. Crypto Repo said it's a professional city. That's it. The Ledger City, where all the professionals go to hang out. So we've got who had the crypto ducks? Someone posted. Oh, uh, Brady was saying Ledger City Ducks. Let's go. So yeah, some others what NFTs. There's Ledger City Duck NFTs out there. Chip is saying that the initial release of Ledger City will be available for both Windows and Mac, but we probably know that it's going to run better in a Mac environment if you have a good quality graphics card. But you probably aren't going to need that, and so in that case, you could probably run it on the Mac. You'd still use your Apple. There you go. Okay, so let's get into some of this other content here. I want to get into so the SEC is releasing some emails here over here. So let's pull this over. Then we'll get into the Deaton tweets and the filing tweets and all that other stuff. Ken Wood, Ledger City is free city, and that could very well be the correct analysis of that. So you let's go complete DeFi decentralization into that environment. Imagine if you can go into the metaverse and you can then, put your money into a bank within the metaverse, and that's kind of like the ledger, so to speak, instead of having your hardware wallet, but you're engaging within that environment, and somehow hiding your assets within a metaverse banking infrastructure. That could be interesting. That could be very interesting. So, all right, what do we got here? Oh, look at this. We got someone get it Schiphol waiting for a flight. I got Benno XRP getting ready to get on a flight out of Amsterdam. Very cool. It's a nice airport, actually. A really nice airport over there. Easy access if you want to go to town. You got the subway right there. You got the train. So very, very cool. Okay, let's pull this up. Here we go. So SEC, we love talking about the SEC. One day we won't talk about the SEC, but the SEC. Oh, you know what? Before I get into that, I forgot. Hang on. I was gonna build the momentum. I was gonna build up to this, and we were gonna start with where's this one? Here we go. They're here. I've got one on investment bankers that are fleeing their traditional jobs at stock trading houses and moving into crypto at a rapid pace, which is kind of cool. Here we go. Welcome to Biden world. I'm looking at my notes on how I wrote this one up. I had a couple different articles. I guess this one will do. This one will be okay. We could use this. I said, "Welcome to Biden world, one with massive inflation, high gas prices, negative commentary from representatives in Congress on crypto, threats of executive orders, a daddy G running the SEC, and now a push to raise the qualifier for being an accredited investor from." And then I say here, you know, man, they just want to F you in every way possible. It's just everywhere, every which way you look, they're trying to F you. So let's see what's going on here. What is this? The SEC wants to bring in the accredited investor from 1 million to 10 million, the proposed limit. So the SEC is considering raising the threshold for who can become considered a so-called accredited investor. The proposed limit at $10 million would make it even harder for ordinary people to invest in startups. So right now, I believe the rules are like 1 million in assets plus like a salary of a minimum of 300,000 per year. Then that's the beginning for the qualifier to become an accredited investor. So you have to meet a certain criteria. Now they want to move that 1 million to 10 million. So here, no, it is right here. Look, it's okay if you work in finance, but as of today, people who would like to qualify as accredited investors must have at least 200,000 in personal income, 300,000 for combined household income over the past 2 years, with an expectation of the same or higher income in the current year. People with a net worth of more than 1 million jointly or with their spouse, excluding the value of their home, also qualify. So you have to have $1 million in net worth outside of your home. So maybe investment properties would count. But also in 2020, the agency added qualification, which include people working in finance, such as brokers, executives, or directors of companies issuing unregistered securities. The plan contradicts recommendations from the SEC Small Business Capital Formation Advisory Committee at a meeting on February 10th. The committee recommended the SEC should expand the definition of an accredited investor in order to address, guess what? Diversity, equality, it's probably, and inclusion in capital markets and avoid exacerbating the wealth gap. So they want diversity, equality, and inclusion. Now, this is the focus. So they keep mentioning this. They keep focusing on how do how do you make it more accommodating for all people? So instead of just why not just utilize a number? So you don't have to say we want to make it more diverse. We don't want it to be more inclusive. You either are going to decrease what these penalties are. Maybe you're going to say, hey, instead of we want people, if you're going to be an accredited investor and you're going to invest in high risk, maybe there needs to be a little bit of, qualifier, maybe a course. Maybe it's not just based on finance, because what they're saying here is based on this, an individual making $200,000 a year at this juncture in their life, and I shouldn't say or, and have a net worth of a million and over, have got to that point because they somewhat understand finance. Now, I will somewhat disagree with that because you might take somebody that is, let's say, a doctor as an example, or an attorney as an example. Let's say did that doctor or that attorney, they're really really good at what they do, or maybe you know whatever, maybe it's an athlete, and someone making a decent amount of money. Does that all of a sudden qualify them for having knowledge in finance? Do they then understand finance better than somebody that doesn't make $200,000 a year and have $1 million? But I get in net worth. So I guess one of the things that they're pointing out here is that you've kind of achieved some level in your career, and you're not squandering your money and spending every last dollar because you've been able to rack up a net worth of $1 million, of more than a million. So they're setting a threshold. Now, I can somewhat agree with some form of a threshold, but at the same point, I don't agree that they're trying to structure it in such a way that will exclude the majority of people from being able to invest in IPOs. So this is kind of crazy. So it's an and. It's not. I don't think it's an or. I think it's an and. You have to qualify as both, but maybe I'm mistaken, Jim. Is it 200,000 or 1 million, or is it 200,000 and a net worth? I thought it was an and, but I could stand corrected that it is one or the other, either a net worth or having that kind of salary over the past 2 years. So yeah, see, and then Crypto G says next they're going to make everyone pass this Series 7 test. Robert Morse saying or. Okay, so it's or. So it's so you have to add that or $1 million in net worth. Now, either way, what their objective here is that right, and that's what love it. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because poor folk aren't invited to the party over here, and that's the point. So here they're putting in some qualifiers. Now, these individuals, if you become an accredited investor, then you have access to being able to invest in uh, in vehicles that are like in a pre-IPO stage and the startups. There's a lot you can do to buy shares in companies before they're offered to retail. And typically at that point, that's where you have the biggest wealth gains, right? So if you are in the pre IPO stage, normally they talk about the IPOs and you get into the IPO and they say, well, the IPO opened at $50, but it immediately went up to $300. Well, the IPO didn't open that day at $50. It might have opened in the pre IPO stage, but then by the time it was available to retail, everyone was selling their shares at that point at the $300 level. So and it ramps up quickly. And so it's at that point that you start identifying and realizing, that you're having issue. And so there's just like, you know, it's crazy. So now they want to increase it to $10 million. So welcome to the world of the SEC and this entire idea, that notion that even though they say they're out to protect and help the retail investor, they want to help the people, but yet they don't. They're doing everything in their power to do the exact opposite of trying to help people. And that's where, you have Daddy G talking about that they're there for the retail investor, and then they talk about the pillars of enforcement. Then they come after Ripple, and then they single out the XRP holders, and then they come after Library, and then they go, within the crypto space, and then they're making it more difficult for everyday people to invest and actually make money through investment like others do. So there you go. So that's a crypto G. All of this in the name of investor protection. So then you had the short squeeze, and then you had the meme stock holders or investors that were like Wall Street bets, and then you had that group that are, squeezing out the short squeeze, that were the financial institutions that were manipulating the market in order to make money, while at the same time they're crushing, companies like what we saw with GameStop. And now the SEC stepping in and penalizing all sides of it, and saying that, and so here you have a group that are finally becoming aware, cognizant, and being able to participate in the game, but yet the SEC is then looking at and saying, well, these common, ordinary people shouldn't be able to benefit from the game. Only the big financial institutions and people that they've approved can gain from the system. And so this is where we're definitely entering into a chaotic phase right now. And part of that chaotic phase is what we're seeing in cryptocurrency markets and in the DeFi markets, where you're able to gain percentage interest on staked assets that you can't get in traditional finance. And so some of it could be risky, some of it there's rug pulls, there's all sorts of stuff going on. There's hype and FOMO, and people are jumping into assets that maybe they shouldn't, or if you do, then it should be money that you don't care about, because there's always a high propensity chance that something's going to go to zero, or there's a good chance it could go up. So maybe you need to diversify. I mean, there's all these things that go behind it. But the key with all of it right now is that in this new era of digital currency, of cryptocurrency, of decentralization, you're taking out a major component, a major element, which is the brick and mortar financial institutions. And that's where even these brick and mortar financial institutions are waking up, because we're starting to see more and more executives that have come from big finance, and they're looking and they're saying, you know what? Big finance isn't where it's at right now. You know where it's at right now? It's in crypto. And so you have a Goldman Sachs exec just recently joined Coinbase. And what does he say? It's time to embrace the crypto economy. So with all the chaos, all the things going on with the SEC v Ripple that we focus in on, and we see the chaos going on over in Russia, Ukraine. We saw the chaos in Canada. We see the chaos internally in the U.S. We see the chaos with the supply chain breaking down. We see, the chaos with the CDC incorrect messaging. We see all these things unfolding in front of us, but the one thing that is maintained consistency and consistent progress is the cryptocurrency space. Why is it that everything else around us seems to be like falling apart, right? But yet the cryptocurrency space, as much as it's been battered by the naysayers, continues its march towards progress. Step. Every so often they run into a speed bump. When you run into a speed bump, the market takes a couple of steps backward. But the underlying theme and the underlying momentum, which is the development within this space and the attractiveness within the crypto space, continues to push forward day after day after day, week on week, month on month, year over year. And now we're more than 10 years in, and this space has created more wealth in such a short period of time. But more than that, it's not just the wealth. What it has done is it has developed more technology, more momentum, and has attracted more interest than any other technology previous to it in such a short span of time, and has taken, well, I don't want to say, it has embedded itself into common finance, into the common economy, economics. And we're starting to see this reality unfold in front of us right now as it speaks. And as much resistance as political entities want to put up against it, they're realizing that it doesn't. It doesn't matter what kind of resistance they put up against it, because this space is growing exponentially. It's growing exponentially. And so when you start seeing executives from Goldman Sachs and others that are now leaving Coinbase because they know where the money is, they know where the next decade, where the money is going to be made. And this keeps referencing, and we'll reference it over and over and over again. I don't remember which interview with Alex Mashinsky it was. We got to find that clip. It's in one of them. We got to find that exact clip, and then we can play it. But there was a statement when he talks about, from the ash heap of what we're going through, the Titans of yesterday will not be the Titans that emerge tomorrow. And we're already seeing that. And you get it as a Coinbase or a Goldman Sachs executive understands that the old way, the old Warren Buffetts are not going to come out as leaders. People are not going to acknowledge their opinion moving forward because the economy is changing. The infrastructure of the economy is changing, and it's moving rapidly. And so you have this guy, Roger Bartlett, the latest in a line of Wall Street executives who have moved into the blockchain and crypto space because they're starting to understand that the next generation of wealth is going to be created within the crypto space. And that's pretty massive. So Roger Bartlett, a Goldman Sachs veteran who's held various positions at the firm since 2005. So 17 years, announced he would be moving over to Coinbase, announced on LinkedIn. Bartlett said he would be running global financial operation at Coinbase after 16 years at the investment banking giant. So he's starting to see, where is Coinbase going? It's going global. It's going to expand exponentially, right? And so obviously there's probably some dollar signs and possibly some crypto in it for him. Who knows what kind of a package he got, but it was probably a pretty big package. So here, Bartlett was the latest in a line of Wall Street execs who moved into the crypto space. Gaurav Budhrani, a 10-year veteran at Goldman Sachs, joined crypto mining firm Prime Block in November of 21 as CEO, along with a former managing director, Alan Konevsky, as its chief legal officer. Later that month, former city executive Matt Zhang also launched HiveMind, a venture fund aimed at crypto and blockchain startups. So these guys understand, they know the direction they're moving in. Regardless if Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas herself, if she comes out and says it's not a good investment, whether or not the SEC comes out and says we're going to raise the level for the accredited investor, whether the SEC is going to attack and try to undermine individuals with, lawsuits, the space is growing at an exponential rate right now. So, and that's That is what is real. And that isn't just FOMO, that is the reality. That's what's happening on the ground. So here the SEC releases emails to empower oversight in crypto conflicts lawsuit. So here, after suing the Securities and Exchange Commission for documents related to potential conflicts of interest in its crypto related enforcement decision, Empower Oversight has obtained the first document from the SEC as a result of this litigation under a FOIA request. The document consists of emails between two now former senior SEC officials, and any email address at the law firm that employed them after they left the SEC. So that's Simpson, Thatcher, and Bartlett. They include 1,053 pages of emails involving, guess who? William Hinman. We know that, director of the SEC's Division of Corporate Finance, and 46 pages of emails involving Mark Berger, the former acting director of the SEC's Division of Enforcement. However, due to formatting issues, many of those pages are almost entirely blank and contain duplicate information. So formatting issues, they came out blank. On February 18th, at the SEC's request, Empower Oversight provided a detailed list of people associated with the entities named in the FOIA request so the SEC can identify additional responsive records rather than limiting its search. So it's great. So now we're seeing that due to the FOIA, they were granted. The judge hearing Empower Oversight's lawsuit recently granted an extension requested by the SEC to file an answer to Empower Oversight's legal complaint. The SEC formally responded to the complaint February 18, 22, denying that it failed to meet its stat. So it's interesting. So first, the SEC comes out and says we didn't fail to meet our statutory obligation, and then they come out and ask for an extension to meet it. So now it says here, Empower Oversight initially filed its FOIA back in August. So think about how much time it's taken since August of 21. In the months since, Empower Oversight filed a lawsuit due to the lack of response because the SEC is non-responsive, right? And how do they keep getting away with not being responsive? They submitted an administrative appeal to the SEC's initial claims that there was no responsive records, sent a letter to the SEC and a new FOIA request for records related to how the SEC's FOIA personnel were conducting. So they want to know how they're doing, right? So it's amazing, really amazing, to see the developments that we're seeing on the ground. It's just over and over and over again. They seem to be like stepping in it, right? I mean, it's just how do they? So it's crazy. So let's look at this one now. So this is John Deaton, right? And John Deaton has pulled up some really, really great stuff here. And we've kind of covered it. He's had some really good tweet storms over the past week. But here we go. Huge exculpatory evidence, right? The August 20th, 2018 meeting between Clayton and Hinman with Brad Garlinghouse and Joel Katz. So look at the date, right? This meeting is 2.5 months after the Hinman speech declaring Bitcoin and Ethereum. So here we have, and now we know for a fact that Hinman gave his speech declaring Bitcoin, Ethereum non-securities, gave a speech that was not his personal opinion because they began to utilize his commentary as guidance towards how they were going to respond. So it was not personal opinion as much as they tried to frame it. They could package it. They could put a bow on it. They can put it in glittery paper. They can put it in paper with flowers on it. They could put a gold leaf bow on it. It doesn't matter how they try to deliver this speech from Hinman. It was not personal opinion. It does not matter whether, it was not personal opinion. And the fact that there was 2.5 months, that there was a meeting 2.5 months later with Clayton Hinman, Garlinghouse, and Joel Katz over this exact topic. So look, frustrated that only 2 of the top 3 cryptos were provided regulatory clarity, Garlinghouse and Schwartz asked what they could do to achieve similar clarity for XRP. So Garlinghouse said Ripple's living in purgatory because of this lack of clarity. So this goes back to 2018. This is 2.5 months after the Hinman speech. 2.5 months after, right? At that moment, If Clayton and Hinman truly believed XRP was a security, they would have informed them right there, right? So why didn't they? Why didn't they say it? If they said, well, no, Bitcoin, Ethereum are, but guess what? XRP isn't. But how is the response? The meeting was not the proper forum for a discussion about that topic. What was going on behind the scenes? Who was operating behind the curtain that were pulling the strings that told them that they couldn't respond on XRP? What exactly was unfolding at that time, which goes back to our premise and narrative that there was more to it than just the digital asset themselves. There has to be more of a political element that wraps in and around the banking infrastructure, that wraps in and around SWIFT. So now, as we're seeing, right, they're trying to block Russia from utilizing SWIFT. Now, Russia has its own SWIFT mechanism in place. And we also know that if you cut a country like Russia off from SWIFT, it's not going to have as much of an impact as they believed that it would have. However, they did not. They chose not to terminate Russia's access to SWIFT, mainly because you have countries like Germany and others, and even the US, that are still relying on gas coming out of Russia. Now, this notion of SWIFT, which, as we know, is the messaging component to allow banks to communicate wire transfers with each other as you're moving money cross border. So that element, and there has to be a component of that was looking at what Ripple is doing with RippleNet and saying, you guys are stepping in a hornet's nest, and we're not going to allow you to easily go in and step in this area that we control, which is SWIFT, which is allowing banks to communicate all of these cross-border transactions. We're not going to do it easily. We're going to put up every barrier of entry possible. So now you go forward, neither Clayton nor Hinman informed Garlinghouse that XRP was a security. Instead, Clayton then asked Garlinghouse to back up from the issue and steered the meeting to a discussion about Ripple's business in technology. Well, there you go. So that kind of unfolds and kind of gets into their mind a little bit, and you start understanding what their agenda was, right? What is their agenda? What is the element behind the curtain that is dictating the outcome of these conversations? So here you have John Deaton. In fact, at the end of August 20th, 2018, Clayton said, encouraged the Ripple executives to continue ongoing discussions with the staff, the Division of Corporate Finance. Now, and John brings it up, it's smart, right? At no time during this meeting did Clayton or Hinman or any other SEC official indicate that ongoing sales of XRP in 2018 were securities. So at this time, since 2012, 2013, all the way to 2018, all these meetings, all these discussions, all these touches between Ripple and the SEC, there was not one moment in time where the SEC told the leadership that, in fact, XRP and ongoing sales of XRP were considered to be a security. Not once. Yet, after a couple years, they decide they were going to drop this massive lawsuit and point fingers at the leadership of Ripple to then state that you were selling unregistered securities. Yet there were multiple meetings, and not in one of those meetings did they indicate in any way, shape, or form that they should cease and desist because they were treading into the sale of unregistered securities, and they're meeting with the top people. So nothing. Crypto G says, Clayton. So David, tell us about your secret sauce. How exactly did you guys develop the software and the code? Tell us a little bit about the code that you guys are utilizing to do what you're doing with instant transfer of asset, instant settlement, fully transparent, cheap, efficient. Tell us a little bit about how you've achieved all of that, and then we'll make you go away, and then you'll disappear from society. So John Dean says, and remember, the SEC has conducted a Howey analysis of XRP. Now, think about the Howey test, right? Because Gary Gensler always references one element of the Howey test, never references all of the Howey test, always only focuses on one element. But the last I looked, Gary Gensler is not an attorney either, but he always just references one component of the Howey test. Now, Dean is saying, remember, the SEC has conducted a Howey analysis of XRP dated June 13th of 2018. If the memo concluded XRP was a security, Clayton and Hinman would have informed Garlinghouse that XRP was in fact a security and would have told him, stop selling it. You must register. But guess what? That did not happen. That didn't happen. So there are all these touch points between the SEC and Ripple, and then nothing, no communication, zero. The truth is, the first time Ripple or its executives are informed that the SEC considers XRP a security is 2 years later. 2 years. So September of 2020. They launched the lawsuit in December of 2020. So 2 years. They've had all these multiple discussions. And this is on the heels of Hinman giving a speech that has become factual, that was not his personal opinion, that it was the opinion of the agency, because they were using it as guidance, that Bitcoin and Ethereum were not securities. But somehow during this period of time, that after 2 months, so there's obviously a lot more to what's happening. So then zero, nothing for a couple of years. Now all of a sudden, September 2020, they start talking about they're going to go after Ripple. By the way, Ripple was first informed XRP security less than a month after. So, I mean, the whole thing is just asinine, right? I mean, the whole thing is just crazy. That when you look at it in context of how this all unfolded. So Hemlock Harris was saying here, obviously they filed the suit and ran because Ethereum guys advised them to. I don't know if I don't know. See, I still believe that the whole notion of the Ethereum Foundation somehow being behind it, I don't think that was the full scope, mainly because the Ethereum Foundation and the Ripple or XRPL and the XRP blockchain, XRP asset, what RippleNet is doing, completely different from what Ethereum is doing. So I still find it hard to absorb that idea that somehow it was but who knows? Because again, we don't know everybody who's behind the Ethereum Foundation. We don't know everyone who's behind Bitcoin. Nobody knows, right? So what is going on behind the curtain? We also don't know what kind of conversations are being had behind the curtains politically in regards to what's going on with that SWIFT and all the banks. So you have 10,000, banks that are involved in this SWIFT. And that notion, to me, is even rings even louder to me, is that somehow the banks, the financial institutions are saying we control the narrative. The governments are looking at SWIFT to say we have the on and off switch to SWIFT to cut people off. Now we're going to have to build that with Ripple. And maybe, just maybe, the lawsuit with Ripple has something to do with wanting to have control over the on and off switch of the rails that Ripple is laying with RippleNet. Maybe they want to know and somewhat have some on and off switch or some decisive decision-making power with the node status of the XRPL. Just maybe. Maybe they're looking at the on-demand liquidity of XRP and saying, how do we have access to that coming, whether it's from the Fed, from a political government perspective? Is it, are they looking at it because they have some level of control over the banking infrastructure? And so they have that control, like I said, over Swift. Uh, Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're buying time. There's so much more that can go into it. Who knows? Van Life Biker, it's a movie. But right now, as it stands, kind of like on its face, it looks like the SEC is continuously stepping in a big pile of poop, right? And they're running around and they keep making statements. And the one thing that they forget about, and it's not just the SEC, we're seeing it across the entire political infrastructure from day to day. They keep making statements with this. Somehow they forget that yesterday they said A, today they're saying B. Tomorrow they're going to say C, D, E, and F. And none of those letters are corresponding with one another because they're different statements on the same issue. They keep changing the narrative, or they keep changing their opinion or their statement or whatever it might be, because they kept coming out. It was personal opinion. It's personal opinion. We got caught. Wait a minute. There's tens of thousands of people out there sleuthing and uncovering every last letter that we've written that's been in the public space, and then there's FOIA requests, and there's information coming out, and there's dots being connected. And well, wait a minute, I guess that wasn't personal opinion. Maybe that was a professional opinion, and then we're seeing it unfold over and over and over again. It's kind of like what we just saw happen over in 1 week, not even 1 week, in a couple days time. We had individuals from this administration talking about how sanctions on Russia were the best thing they could do, that the sanctions they were putting on Russia were punitive and they were going to stop them from doing anything. And it was going to be the best. These are the most severe sanctions and restrictions that anyone's ever placed. That's coming directly from top people within the administration. And then, not even a day or two later, we hear from the man at top, the big man himself, says, no, well, we knew that the sanctions weren't going to do anything. What? It's like their messaging changes day in and day out. You can only lie so much. When you lie, you can, when it's in writing and on video, and you keep lying, and people now have called you out on the lies, then it doesn't bode well for you. And you also lose credibility on the global stage. And that is exactly what's happening right now with the SEC, is that they're losing credibility. The credibility has been shot because they keep making up these statements. And now, as we're seeing, as John Dean is succinctly put into tweets, which is amazing that you can succinctly, put together a long, threaded thought process, and we can then analyze it and dig in and get something out of it. But they're caught. What happened from here? It's going to be, so now it's going to really, it comes down to the judge. And so in John Deaton's case, on behalf of the XRP holders, the case against the SEC as well. But right now, it seems like the SEC is playing catch up because every direction they turn, they're getting caught with misstatements, misdirection. And it's got to come to an end. And the judge has got to see it, accordingly. So come on, that's it already. You can't keep this charade going any longer, right? It's chaos. So anyhow, for those are brand new here to On the Chain, and if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button. We have over 250 people in the live chat on a Saturday morning listening and communicating with one another. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell notifier. You can also support and subscribe to On the Chain with that little join button below if you so wish. You don't have to, but if you so wish to support On the Chain, you can do that. We do stream Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. By far the smartest in the entire YouTube crypto space gather here 6 days a week with us. We have the best and the smartest in all of crypto space right here on the chain. Appreciate all of you guys. Appreciate your support. Thank you, Susie, for the big super chat. before we even started. But we will be back on again tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Chip and I. That's it, guys. Off to tennis. I'm out. See ya. Have a good day.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.